Now, why, you ask, is it important for counselors to know the steps in neurotransmission? Well, I'll tell you. All medication, except for alcohol, all drugs and medication work at one of the steps in the process of neurotransmission, in the synaptic cleft primarily. They either increase or decrease reception, they increase or decrease transmission. And that's the primary action of nearly all medication. As I mentioned with SSRIs, selected serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRI, they inhibit the reuptake step in the process of neurotransmission. So SSRIs inhibit the reuptake of selected serotonin, serotonin being a neurotransmitter. And literally, you will see dozens and dozens and dozens of clients over your career that are going to be on SSRIs. And if you know what that does, then you got an understanding. And you also need to know about SSRIs that they take about 3 to 6 weeks to reach effectiveness in the system with regulating the process of reuptake of serotonin. And all of them have some side effects. Some SSRIs are not too bad side effects, but one of the side effects during the first 3 weeks that a counselor needs to know about, because a psychiatrist will put these people on medication, won't tell them crap. How many times have you been to your physician and you're sneezing and you don't know if you've got the plague or it's just the pollen this week, so you go to the doctor and the doctor puts you on medication. He or she doesn't tell you a word about the side effects. If you want to find out side effects, you got to go read about yourself, I guess, or you could ask them, well, tell me about the side effects. Tell me about counterindications for the drugs, and you'll go, oh, you'll get that from the physician because they don't want to fool with you. So it's important for counselors to know that all medication has side effects. Generally, SSRIs, they're fairly mild, but an extraordinarily important one that counselors need to know is the first 3 weeks that somebody is taking an SSRI, suicidal ideation happens. The younger the person is taking it, a 16-year-old taking an SSRI, for instance, is extremely prone to suicidal thinking, and at 16, with poor impulse control, suicidal activity. So it's important to know, and when somebody comes and gives you an intake the first time you see them, you find out what medications they are on and find out how long they've been on them. And in a couple of weeks, you're going to learn the different types of medications, so you'll learn SSRIs. And so somebody tells you, well, my doctor just put me on Prozac on Monday. What's the first thing now in your little learning counselor brain that you're going to think when that person says to you on Friday, this doctor just put me on Prozac and SSRI on Monday? That's exactly right. This person has the potential to be prone to suicidal ideation and suicide for at least 3 weeks. So I've got to keep a close eye on her for this 3-week period. So that's why it's really, really important for you to learn. Alcohol now works in a different way. Alcohol is water soluble and it's absorbed into every cell and affects the cell in a different way at the nucleus and in the mitochondria. So not going to go into that. It also disrupts the synthesis of protein and what's called the Krebs cycle, which is a 21-step. Some of you I just caused to shiver because you had to memorize that in undergraduate in biology. But the Krebs cycle is a 21-step process for the synthesis of protein, and alcohol interrupts 19 of those steps. And so that's why physical addiction with alcohol is so dangerous, and detox is needed to be done very carefully under medical supervision for alcohol addiction. So that's why counselors need to know it, because the process of neurotransmission is where medication works and where all drugs, illicit and illegal drugs, work in there. Just about everything except alcohol works at the synaptic cleft in the process of neurotransmission. So Next, we go to the overview of the anatomy of the brain and what various areas do, the spinal cord, the sympathetic and parasympathetic autonomic nervous system, which he pronounces autonomic, which just tickles me, but he went to school at Sears apparently. Anyway, it gives you an overview of that. It's 9 minutes, so please stop it, pause it, take good notes so that you learn where things are, what they do, and you're able to understand the parts of the nervous system and how all of these things come together. Giving it to you in little bitty parts, going to see how it all comes together just a little bit later. So watch that next one, and I'll be back in a few minutes.